Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the ASMG Back Pass. This is where we do a quick review of the previous weekend's actions and what it means for the coming fixtures of the matches coming up. And we'll get right into it, and we'll start with the first game that we had on the weekend. Georgia Athletic we're hosting Dalton United FC. They're at Discovery High School Stadium. This was a somewhat surprising result with Georgia Athletic coming out 5-0 winners. Dalton United really didn't look like themselves on the day. They've had some ups and downs, but they were in a position just a couple of weeks ago of challenging for the division title. They were in place, depending on results of other games, of course. But Keeves Martin was the star of the show, and he had a free kick to kick things off in the first half that really set the tone for that game. And Georgia Athletic now find themselves flirting upstairs in the division table with the league leaders. A little outside chance at a division title at this point, but really looking good for a possible home field advantage during the playoffs, which can be very uh, advantageous for any of the teams in this division. Because remember, the winner of the division playoffs goes on to the national playoff picture. And so they're going to be wanting to close out these final 2 weekends of actions on a positive note to find themselves in a position to do more. But devastating for Dalton United. Most likely will be in the playoffs despite this heavy loss. But they're going to have to turn things around if they hope to make any headway in the playoffs. So the next game that's on tap from this past weekend, FC Columbus Elite. We're hosting Laminio Jordan. And now Laminio, Georgia, were doing very well in the season. At one point, they were in third place up towards the top, and many found that surprising, considering that they are a promoted team. But sometimes we forget this isn't a new team. It is a very young team, but they have a lot of experience. Coach Galdamez, former El Salvador legend and a professional coach, does a very good job of prepping his team for games, and they have been really surprising people, playing everybody toe to toe in this division and showing that they deserve not only to be in the Premier, but deserve to go on to postseason play. But FC Columbus did a shocker with the 2-0 victory on the day. It was Ian Corbin with a brace to get that victory for FC Columbus, and for them, a very vital win because they were flirting with relegation. And so they are another step away from that. They're still not completely safe, but they've done a lot to make sure that they inch away from there and fight for survival. So a very good victory for FC Columbus. And Laminio, little damaged, but still in the playoff hunt in a good way. So we'll see how the last 2 weekends of matches do for both of these games and see where they end up. Now, the third game, this one, Potros, a team that's hot on the trail of Kalanji Pro Profile for the division title. FC Birmingham, solidly anchored to the bottom of the division. A team that at the beginning of the season you would have hoped would be challenging for a playoff place. It's not turned out that way for them. They've had venue issues, they've had personnel issues with some of their players. They have played well in the last couple of weeks, but on this day, Portros just had their number. Portros in fine championship form at the moment. FC Birmingham, another tough loss for them. And really, if they don't get a result this coming weekend, they're going to confirm relegation, FC Birmingham. Potros, they're just waiting to see if Kalanji Pro Profile will trip up. When this day started, they were in first place, but Kalanji still has 2 games in hand at this point. And in the next results, or in the results later in this podcast, you'll see that they were able to get a positive result and get back to the pole position in the division. So, but a very good win for Porthos. FC Birmingham, tough loss, devastating loss, really. And they're really going to have to crank it up the next 2 games to have any chance at survival. And so next up, the fourth game of the weekend to cover, Fountain City FC with a vital win over Pachuca, Georgia. This was a great result for Fountain City because this result climbs them out of the relegation zone, if temporarily, depending on results from other games in the coming weeks. But vital, vital win to their survival hunt. Pachuca kind of damages their hunt for a playoff place. They still are in good position to get there with 2 games to go, but this was a dent in the playoff hunt for them. But plenty of chances to get back in. And it's the thing about this division we've talked about in the past few weeks. It's such a tight competition. There's very little separating the teams in the playoffs and the teams in the mid-table that from week to week, these results are shuffling these teams back and forth. So it'll be interesting to see how this ends up, especially with this coming weekend with more vital games to look for. And we'll get right on to the fifth game of the week that we covered. This was on ASMG. This is another good result for SSL FC, who at the beginning of the season were mired in the relegation race. They were flirting with it. But a run of good form of late, especially this one against North Georgia United, has seen them bubble up the table with the outside chance of the playoff, believe it or not. Now, North Georgia United, they're going in the wrong direction. They started out one of the best teams in the division for of the first games. They won outright, but since then they've drawn 2 and lost now 5, and they have dropped down to the final playoff place in the 8th place. And they're in danger of slipping out completely if they can't turn it around. Now, they did have Emmanuel Lum, who came off the bench in the second half. He's not quite match fit yet, but they need his firepower along with Ronald Maradiaga to see if they can salvage and get that last playoff place before the end of the season. They have time to do something about it, much like SSL has. So we'll keep one eye on North Georgia. We will be covering their game tomorrow against Kalanji Pro Profile. It's a tough ask because Kalanji is in fine form and they're hungry for the division title. So they're going to have to bring their best. But the good thing for North Georgia, it is at home at Riverbend Park. So we'll see what Coach K and Jonathan Torres has in store for them. But Bruno Kalanji's men are going to come there looking for blood and a victory. So we'll have to wait and see how that turns out for them. And we'll get on to the sixth game of the weekend. And of course, this is going to be the Geranium Derby between Georgia Revolution and Albion SC, 2 bitter rivals against each other. Now, this is a tough game, tight game. Albion had been playing well, and they played well again here, but it was Georgia Revolution who edged them out with a 2-1 victory, a vital win for Georgia Revolution to keep them kind of in that division title hunt. Much like Portos, they need the team above them, Kalanji Pro Profile, to trip up and drop points for them to have an opportunity. But most likely, both Portos and Georgia Revolution, depending on how they finish out the season, look to have home field advantage during the playoffs. And so that's going to be a good advantage for them. And remember, Georgia Revolution is the only team to have defeated Kalanji Pro Profile both last season and this season, but Portos did draw them this season as well. So both teams have taken points off of Kalanji. So these are going to be the elite teams of the Georgia Premier going into the playoffs. But again, the playoffs are a second season. Anything can happen, and we've seen that happen with Atlanta City a few seasons ago. They were 8th seed. They went through and won the whole thing. So nothing is guaranteed. You actually have to play the games and get the results. All right, and the last game that we're going to cover here from the last weekend, Kalanji Pro Profile with a 3-0 victory over a very vastly improved UMA FC. But on this day, Kalanji Pro Profile was just professional enough to get the 3-0 victory. UMA played well. They just couldn't get that attack, that potent attack they have going. And Kalanji Pro Profile just were able to get that clean sheet. Kareem Tamimi on the board again, but Awana Medard, who gets another brace, his second brace in as many weeks, as they run out 3-0 victories. So Kalanji per profile have 3 more games to play. They're in first place. It's their title to lose. And so the Georgia Revolution and Potros are going to be looking for them to trip up against the next games that they have. They did have a midweek game. That's the one that they got ahead. But a midweek game on Wednesday, which we'll cover with the review here against Pachuca, and they won that game on Wednesday night 2-0. And we'll get to that one in just a moment. But let's look at that because the league table kind of reflects the changes that we see after the results, both on the past weekend and this past Wednesday with the Kalanji and Pachuca game. And you see there Kalanji per profile in pole position with 25 points, game in hand. Potros right behind them on 24 points, and Georgia Revolution on 21. So Georgia Athletic is there right now in that fourth spot, a home field advantage spot at 18 points. And then, of course, as we come down in Leminio, Dalton, UMA, and North Georgia United, all occupying those playoff spots. But you can see how tight it is when you look down to the mid-table with Pachuca, SSL, and FC Columbus Elite. These teams actually have an opportunity to grab a playoff spot, and they need these other teams to drop points ahead of them. But being only a point out of the North Georgia, and that's why we say North Georgia have quite an uphill battle to make sure that they get into the playoffs when they were looking at a division title possibility early in the season. Now they just want to make sure that they get in the playoffs. But they have a tall order in front of them right now, especially with them playing Kalanji per profile on Saturday. And then down in the relegation race, we talked about how Fountain City brought themselves back out of the relegation zone with that victory. Albion with the loss in the with that loss against Revolution, kind of places them down there in the one of the two spots for the relegation, with FC Birmingham bringing up the rear. And of note, of Albion were deducted 3 points earlier in the season because of a forfeit due to a problem at their facility there that they didn't take care of. And so that has cost them dearly. It's one of those things in a tight division title, or excuse me, a tight competition that we have in the Georgia Conference, can really be devastating to have points deductions. So they will have to get some positive results in the next 2 weeks to survive. But it's a dogfight down there, and we'll have to see how that turns out in the end. So let's do a little review of all the games this past week. Of course, we went back and we saw Georgia Athletic. Of course, they're in fourth place now because of the 5-0 win at as they hosted Dalton United. FC Columbus Elite with the victory over Leminio puts them in a pretty good spot with a chance of shooting up to a playoff spot with the right results, home and with other results in the final 2 weeks of the season, the regular season. FC Birmingham, devastating loss against Potros FC, almost certain to go down. Not mathematically out of it yet, but I think it's a tall order for them to try to get where they need to be and hope that the other teams also drop points ahead of them in order for them to survive. So it's not looking good for them. We'll know more about their fate after next week. And, of course, Fountain City with a fantastic victory over Pachuca, Georgia, 4-3, got them out of the relegation spot. SSL, devastating win for them over North Georgia. Should say devastating loss for North Georgia. Great win for SSL. It vaults them up to contention. Albion, narrow loss to their rivals, Georgia Revolution, and which is a great result for the Georgia Revolution in their title race. And Kalanji per profile, business as usual with the UMA FC, 3-0 victory there. And then I spoke about it earlier with the midweek game. This was one of the makeup games for Kalanji per profile. They managed to get a 2-0 victory over Pachuca, Georgia, in a thoroughly standard performance for them. They got it done on there. And of course, we want to take a quick look at the Golden Boot with the Nazario Mbamio. He's still in pole position there with Potros. He's with 12 goals. Ronald Maradiaga with his goal over the weekend got above his attacking partner Emmanuel Lam, who has been missing due to injury, but he is back now. Just we probably is going to start this coming weekend against Kalanji per profile, but he is Maradiaga is on 10, Lam's on 9. Usman Fall came close over the weekend, but he's still on 8. Yet Van Den Essen still on 7, and Jamex Leon a couple of weeks ago got a brace that puts him above Thierry Jewell from Kalanji per profile. He's now on 7. Thierry Jewell is just below him on 6, and there are a host of other players down on 6 goals. So that is kind of the wrap up of the past week with the back pass. So now let's take a look at the upcoming fixtures for this coming weekend. Saturday, June the 7th, we have Pachuca hosting FC Columbus Elite, a game vital for different reasons for both of these teams. FC Columbus, of course, want to stay the course and inch away from the relegation zone. Pachuca chasing a playoff spot. They're outside the playoffs at the moment, but they need a victory and some help from other game results for them to sneak themselves into the playoffs, which is quite an accomplishment from a promoted team that Pachuca is. Dalton United FC looking to go into the playoffs on good form, going up against FC Birmingham. FC Birmingham, though they have played well the past 2 weeks, just haven't gotten the bounces. And losing against Georgia Athletic 2 weeks ago in stoppage time when they lost 2 late goals there when they were leading that game. It must have been a heartbreaker for them, but they possess some quality there that Dalton United is going to have to look out for to make sure that they can win. They're going to be looking to try to get up into those home playoff spots, home field advantage playoff spots, which means top 4. Now, Leminio, Georgia, up against Albion. Albion's going to be a tricky one for Leminio. Albion have been playing well most of the season, just haven't been getting the results that they need to make a challenge this season. We'll see how they finish it out. But right now, because of that points deduction, they're in the relegation zone. And so they're going to have to get a win and hope for some help from the other teams to get out. But it's going to be an uphill battle against Leminio, who are one of the elite teams right now. Even as young as they are, they're doing so well as another one of those promoted teams that are challenging for one of those playoff spots. And here's the critical one. This is a game that's going to be on ASMG. It's a game up at Riverbend between North Georgia United hosting Kalanji per profile. When you looked at the beginning of the season, this was the game to look for by the end of the season. But North Georgia's form has been very poor the past few weeks, and they've dropped down to 8th right now going into the final couple of weeks of action. Kalanji per profile are in 1st. Their destiny is in their hands, and all they need to do is win out to confirm division title champions this season. North Georgia is just trying to hang on to that playoff spot, which means positive results either this coming week or the next or both, depending on results from other games. So stay tuned. Watch this game on ASMG TV, and we'll see how that game maps out. I'm sure that's a game that both Georgia Revolution and Portros will be interested in. UMA FC will be hosting Georgia Athletic. Georgia Athletic have really come on towards the last half of the season, up in 3rd place now. They're looking to secure home field advantage. They're going to be their goal. UMA FC, same thing. Need a result. Most likely, both of these teams will make the playoffs, but they want as high a position as possible. That's another thing about the playoffs. They're seeded, so the top seed plays the lower seeds in the early round. So they want to be as high as possible to get a favorable matchup. SSL FC, another vital game, again, going to be on ASMG TV. hosting Georgia Revolution. Georgia Revolution, of course, wants to keep the home field advantage. SSL wants to try to see if they can finish out strong and possibly even get a playoff spot. And that would have been unheard of when we saw them in their early season form. But right now, they've played themselves in contention. And so this is going to be a really interesting game at Shiloh Field. And of course, to round out the weekend, it's going to be Potros FC hosting Fountain City FC. Fountain City had a really good result to bring them out of the relegation zone this past week. They got a tough one to stay on that positive note with Potros FC, who are going to be desperately looking for maximum points to stay close to Kalanji per profile in case they were to drop points. So that's going to be a really, really tough game. Should be an entertaining game at Marietta High School, and we'll see what Uranga's men can do there, and should help catapult this season into another fantastic season finale. And we look forward to the division playoffs as well because we're going to have 8 teams, all who can win it, and it's going to be interesting to see. The other game that's not on here is going to be another makeup game for Kalanji per profile. That'll put it on even number of games with everybody else in the division. It's going to be against Albion SC. Kalanji, of course, will be favored in that game. But again, like I say, Albion played tough. They gave the Georgia Revolution quite the game this past week. That being a derby game, those are special. But it's going to be something else, another category to go up against Pro Profile at their home ground with them needing to win. And they could clinch the division depending on results this coming weekend on that day. So that'll be an interesting game to watch. But that's all we have for this week. I think that, we're getting down to the dramatic end to the season, and we look forward to presenting as much information as we can about this competition. We're also, I know I've said it before, but we are going to get the coverage of Division One expanded. We're going to look to also include the women with our new women's division, and we have a fall season of academy coverage coming up later this year. So plenty of football all season long. We look forward to finding some other interested people that would like to join the team here at ASMG TV. But in the meantime, make sure that you like and subscribe. This really helps us out on the channel to help us bring you more of this information and more quality coverage. So whatever you can, support what we do here, and we will support these teams and this league to bring you the best that we can in the UPSL and other leagues. So thank you again for watching this week. We look forward to getting again with you in another episode of the Back Pass next week after this week's action, and we'll see where we stand. But until then, have a great rest of your week.